this computer. Okay. Okay, I think it's recording now. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at what is development very briefly. So the objectives for this mini class are to define development and identify different concepts, very basic concepts within development. Okay. Self-evaluation question, so show of thumbs. So we're going to look back at the objectives, so define development and identify different concepts within development. So I'll kind of generalize that, and I'll say international development. So how well do you understand, or how well can you define and explain about international development and the concepts within international development? And so show of thumbs, not at all, very much like completely competent, kind of in between, or wherever you'd like. So on the count of 3, please show me. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's some differences. Okay, so to start with, what do you think development is about? And when I'm talking about development here, I mean more international development, not, yes, what is international development? So I'm talking about if you go abroad, or if you go to a different country, or even sometimes in your own community. So what does it mean if you're talking about development?
Sorry, quick question. Are we talking about professional or personal development or structural development?
So international development, so it's like community development.
So some things like the ability to communicate with each other in your community and stuff like that.
I would say the growth and exchange of knowledge, in particular to community settings, maybe.
Okay.
I was thinking, maybe I'm completely off, but I was thinking more like concrete development, like building schools, building, other facilities or things like that.
Yeah. So in this way, like international development is talking about, or community development is, well, development overall is talking about a means to be in a process of growth and improvement. So that's a very general concept of development. If we're talking about international development, or on a smaller scale, community development, we're talking about how you can improve a country or a community. What can you do to make that community or country better? There are 2 main types of development. So you kind of talked about it a little bit when you mentioned a school. So these are economic development and social development. Okay, so what do you think economic development is? So if we're looking at a community or a country, what is economic development?
Investment in infrastructure.
Yeah, investment in infrastructure. Good. What else?
The potential for income.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So economic development aims to improve people's lives through economic growth. Economic growth can create more jobs and increase the amount of money people have. This increase in money can then obviously lead to people being able to buy more goods and services. And usually economic development is kind of instigated by a government or business. Okay, so what do you think social development is? So again, we're thinking of social development in the context of a country or a community.
Again, social infrastructures like libraries and the leisure centers, something like that.
Yeah. So it focuses more on education, health, and people's well-being. So it's kind of social services. So in your community, you might have a hospital or you might have schools. So that's kind of social development. You're trying to develop people. So it's not just the financial aspect, but maybe mentally or physically, you're kind of developing them. And a lot of times it involves people working together to create change. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this one I have here, but what countries is development normally focused on and why? So development studies or international development studies largely focuses on countries in poverty. So one of the main questions of development is what is the best way to reduce poverty and improve lives? So if we're talking about international development, we're looking at countries in poverty, and through economic development and social development, how can we best pull them out of poverty? You can also have community development in a country that is already developed, and that's just how that specific community can better its citizens as well. But a lot of times it is talking about international development and how to improve the lives of people in poorer countries. Okay, so instead of doing a poll, because it would have involved trying to figure things out, I decided I would share a Pear Deck activity. So I'm going to share that in the chat box. I have different pictures that I will be presenting, and then I would like you to match them to the best concept of development that you can think of. So these are different ideas related to economic development and social development. Okay. Just one second. I'll put the link in the chat box. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 sec. Okay, so if you click on the link, if you can go through the multiple choice questions, you have about 3 minutes to do so. And there's more than one choice or one answer that is possible. But just choose whichever one you think fits best. My apologies about the spelling mistake. Okay, I think everyone finished. So we're going to quickly look at the answers and discuss. Okay, so the first picture, people chose economic or environmental. Does anyone want to share why they chose economic? Like I said, there's multiple choices that are correct for these pictures, so it's okay. Oh, you're muted. You'll have to unmute.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Sorry, guys. I said it appears to be a market or a sort of gathering. And because I saw people making food, I assumed economic, but I don't know.
Okay. And how about environmental?
Yep, I voted for environmental, I guess, as far as I remember. And I think it's because the environment that people are living is not as good as the environment that the people deserve to live in. So it needs an improvement on that respect, maybe.
Yeah, I think those can be both good answers. I kind of the answers I have, I agree with the environmental. The answer I have is either economic or education. Economic, again, because they're having to work and yeah, like they don't look like they have a lot of money. The other one I have is possibly education, because if you notice, the person serving the food is a child, and so they probably should be in school instead of working. Okay, so, but again, there's multiple answers that are correct. So let's look at the next one. So you put environmental or economic. Does someone want to share why they chose economic?
So I think, again, it's me that I'm choosing different from the other ones.
That's okay.
I'm
Like
sleeping. Okay, for this one, I think there's a difference between some people that are living in a very nice, like high buildings, and the other people are living in a very like poor houses. So the economic is not good. It's not good because the people are in two groups. So one group is very rich, the other group is very poor. So the economic should work better here.
Good. And how about environmental? Why did someone choose environmental?
I was going back and forth between economic and environmental. For the reasons Mason had said, it's clearly a slum. I chose environmental, probably because like that's sub-poor housing, like along the waterfront, and it probably poses, long-term, issues, environmental issues, probably impact from the environment in terms of their health and things like that. But
yeah,
it was a coin toss for me between those two, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, like you can only choose one answer on this, but there is more than one correct answer. So yeah, I would say economic or environmental as well for the two reasons that you listed. How about the next one? So we have health and sustainability. Who chose health and why?
Again, me, the minority. I chose health because using the bicycles for commuting is a very healthier way to commute between your work and live place.
Okay, good. And how about someone who chose sustainable? Why?
I chose it because of two reasons. One of them being that bikes are not fuel dependent, so that be a more sustainable way to live as we are inching further away from oil and gas and into greener options. That's the first thing. And the second thing is because it provides a cheaper and equally efficient, if used properly, mode of transportation for communities.
Okay, good. Excellent. I think those are good choices. I think, like personally, you probably also choose environmental because it helps the environment. Maybe economic because it saves money, or you're more economically developed if you have a system like this in place. So there is multiple answers that are possible. Let's look at the next one. So political. Why is it political? Someone
speak about equity, so the image just reminds me that not everyone so not everyone is over the fence, and I took that as a political metaphor that the resources are not equitable.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Anyone else have a different reason for choosing political?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the concept of imprisonment. So thought about governments. Governments are the ones who imprison. That's why I chose political.
Okay. Next one. Yeah, and those are, yeah, I would agree with those reasons. So you guys chose either education or environmental. Why did someone choose education?
That I chose education, and that was unclear to me. So I thought that like a leaf is growing, like a plant that is growing, is like growing education, rising the education for people or something like that. It was unclear for me.
Okay.
Actually.
And how about environmental? Why did people choose environmental?
I mean, I was vacillating between environmental and sustainable. The first one I saw it, it seemed like, oh, green cities, sustainable cities. But that to me seems like a concept, an environmental concept. So I don't know. Again, coin toss, just picked environmental.
Yeah, I was thinking more when I made it. I was thinking more yeah, it was more environmental or sustainable, but I do understand about the education. That makes sense to me. And how about this one? Who chose economic?
I actually don't remember which one I chose.
Oh, okay. Well, which one do you have?
I chose health, so you definitely chose economic.
Okay.
Okay, so can I ask why?
For me or
asking from?
Mason?
Doesn't matter, whoever.
Mason, go ahead.
Okay, I chose economic because it seems that there are living some poor peoples nearby and doesn't have access to like clean environment and the other stuff like that. So the economic is the point here.
Okay. And how about health?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely thought economic. One of the things that stood out in the picture that was like, being around stagnant water, and I just started thinking about access to clean water. That's both an economic and health issue, and then ended up clicking health.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think those are all good reasons. So I'm gonna go back to the slides. Okay, so we're going to do a quick another activity. I'm not going to change this to presentation yet because I need to go back in a second. So using the polling function, decide if each picture shows development or the need for development. So if you go into participants, there's the yes green button or the no red button, and we'll use yes for development and no for needs development. So yes, development or needs development. So we'll look at the different pictures, and does it already show development, or does a picture show that there is a need for development? Let me just go back. Okay, so looking at this picture, does it already show development or a need for development? Need one more answer. Okay, there, good. So everyone said a need for development, and I would agree with that. So I'm gonna clear it. Okay, looking at this image, does it show development or a need for development? Okay, good. Okay. Does this image show development or a need for development? Okay, good. I'm just saying good because you guys all gave the same answer, and it's correct. Okay, do you think this shows development or the need for development? Good. Okay, development or the need for development? Good. Development or the need for development? Okay, good. try to get it to present again. Okay, so who do you think should be responsible for development in your community? So if you're thinking more just locally in your community, who do you think should be responsible? And why?
I think it's a joint effort between the governing body, so municipal or provincial, or the governing bodies that are elected or not elected, potentially the community members, and maybe non-for-profit or for-profit organizations who choose to have either incentives or programs that help for development.
Okay. Anyone else?
I agree with Monica. It was a complete answer, I think.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. The only thing I'd add is making sure that there's at least definite key stakeholders. And what I mean by that is that if you feel like maybe some of these bodies might not actually be representative of the communities, it's hard to tell. But there must be some sense in which the local population have some kind of voice in what's going on. If there are good elective mechanisms, that's great. If not, there has to be some other mechanism by which they're being heard, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so self-evaluation question, the same thing. So how well do you understand or think you can define development, and when we're talking about development, international or kind of community-based development? So on the count of 3, so not at all and completely competent, could be in between. So 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to, is there any questions? No? Okay. I'll stop.